Mark from Tampa, Florida.
Hi, Mark.
The cameras. When is it good to use a regular camera and a 360 camera?
Good question.
For the people in the back, so he says, as far as cameras, when is it appropriate or good to use a regular camera, and when is it appropriate to use a 360 camera? Okay, sir.
Yeah, so I dabbled with the 360. Don dabbled with the 360 before. I think we saw Sherry with Cruise Tips TV was some of the first people that we saw, and it would give you this drone type shot. Now, the interesting thing with the 360 camera is it's not as easy. It's the easiest camera to use. You turn it on and you stick it on a stick, and it captures everything. But the challenge is to get usable footage or footage that you like, you have to jump into the editing software, and you're framing every shot that you're going to use. So that's a little bit of a challenge, but once you get that down on some level, it really opens up a lot for you, especially if you're by yourself. You can actually see yourself in the shot if you hold the camera in the right place. To me, it's a stylistic kind of thing.
How high above your head?
I've experimented, so it comes like, most of them come like a 4-foot selfie stick, and that gives you a full top-down thing, but an interesting perspective is maybe halfway of that, because then you can kind of see the face, see your face, or there's some great videos. This guy, I think his name's Ben Carson, he's out of Australia, and he's a 360 guy, and I think I watched a video like 15, angles for your 360 camera. Like he'll hold it behind him so it looks like he has a follow shot. And then I like kind of the work perspective Picasso type stuff. I know not everybody likes that. It's just the way my brain kind of works. And so I kind of like those real twisted reality type shots. I like the fact that you have the freedom to make that kind of thing. But the other thing is it does make a nice wide linear shot. To what Josh was saying, sometimes our cameras are not wide enough to really get a great feeling of where you're at. So I like the 360 for that perspective. And the interesting thing, like from a tech point of it, is the 360 cameras, they're more than 4K, but they spread that around the 360. So sometimes you're only getting almost a less than high quality HD 1080p image out of it. And so with the latest versions of the Insta360, they're starting to upgrade that resolution. So it depends if you're somebody that loves to shoot in 4K in your phone or your regular camera, you're gonna struggle a little bit with what you get out of the 360 camera, but I honestly think that the 360 camera should be in everybody's tool bag. I've tried shooting whole videos and showing whole videos with that to mixed results. I've liked it artistically, but not everybody's liked the outcome. But I think for interesting shots where you can be in a church somewhere in Colombia and you can see the full majesty of it. Yeah, I think it's really cool. But yeah, it would probably be like the third camera for me, right? Like I still like having a GoPro. I like maybe the fourth camera, right? So the camera that you're going to use the most, that you can reach the quickest, that you can take an image with, should be your number one camera. For most of us, I think that's our mobile devices. That's our phone, and the modern cameras have really great cameras. And then you might want to have an action camera like a GoPro. To me, I would go 360 after that, and then big camera, it's tough. Like you got to have a commitment to the big camera, right? Like so you got to be. I'm going to carry this thing around, and that comes with its own challenges. And then if you want to go to the next level, have a gimbal. So it's the thing you're really trying to reduce the friction in your creative process, right? So you want to figure out what's going to get you the quickest to capturing something interesting without the least, with the least amount of friction. So I think that's going to make the camera decision for everybody. But I can tell you, and I believe this, that everybody that decides to carry a big camera around, we've all carried a biggish camera around, you're making a commitment to add a little more friction into your process for the trade-off of getting better footage, right? And so you have to decide where that is for you, and you don't want that decision to go with a bigger camera for better footage to make you create less, right? So to me, that's the balancing point. But you got anybody else on 360?
Yeah,
I've never used one. Has anybody got one here?
I got a little bit.
Yeah, right here.
Let's see it. I've seen.
You got it with you? Ooh, it's show and tell time, folks.
Which camera do you want?
Oh boy. Well, if you're auctioning them off, we'll take them off.
The beautiful thing is he's working at a small footprint too.
Yeah, so this is the 360. This is the Insta 360. So see, basically it's got a lens on this side, a lens on this side, and so it's capturing, both sides at the same time. And then, like Tony mentioned, you go back in that software.
So it's 180 it's 185 degrees
Wow.
on both lenses. So there's 10 degrees of overlap,
Right.
which is why they always say you should put the selfie stick out.
Right.
Because that stitch line, which is in between
Right.
every lens on all four sides,
Right.
if you hold it here, this is an equal distance so that your hand doesn't become a nub on the end of your arm, and so it doesn't look awkward. And so there's challenges where people will take this and they'll stick it in their mouth, and so their face looks all contorted, and it's this like teeth horse face look. And Insta360 encourages the creative process.
Right.
And one thing that I love about this, I almost challenge that this would be, and I respect your opinion, but I almost think this should be before a GoPro.
Yeah, you like it.
Waterproof, out of the box, just like a GoPro is, and it has the option to do one lens and not both, so you have the capacity to say, I want, it's in 2K or 2.5K, it's like 1440, a little less, but it's basically a flat image that's a 16:9, and you could say, I want to use this lens, I want to use the other lens. And a quick anecdote, I have a video of my daughter taking her first steps with this 360 cam.
Wow.
Sitting in the living
That's
room
awesome.
of my parents' house that they no longer own.
Right.
And so I can sit at home and put on my VR headset and watch my daughter take her steps, look around my parents' living room, and watch my daughter take her first steps. This is, yes, for content, it is amazing. But for family memories in the future of technology at this Tech Talk, the future of technology, we're all going to have headsets and things like that.
Yeah.
This is a family heirloom type camera, just for the family memories. I mean, Christmas morning, we all had our dad set up a tripod in the corner with a giant VHS, and it says Happy Holidays across the whole screen. You're like, I can't even see anything, Dad. It's 6 hours of nothing. This, you sit in the corner, you push record. I mean, it is an absolute game changer. In time lapses and star lapse modes, you can see all of the sky.
It can do all of them.
It's great.
And so with the Insta360, so that's the one you have, right, Tony? So I'm gonna throw a third perspective in here. I've got the GoPro, the Max. Yes.
Yeah.
So the GoPro Max, so what I like about the Insta360, and these are the things that like you want to know when you're thinking about this one versus that one. So you mentioned going underwater, right? And how it's no problem. The GoPro Max, forget it.
Yeah.
I just learned this last week. I thought I was doing something wrong. And finally, because like I've had the Max for, I don't know, maybe 6-8 months, taken on 2 cruises. And it was great. Like it has the stitching, so you can do the 360 or you could do just one lens or the other. But every time I would take it under the water, it would be blurry. And I'm like, now make that one make sense to me. Am I cursed with blurriness or what's the deal here? And so I got to researching, and so I don't know if we can see that one more time, but on underwater cameras or cameras that are meant to go underwater, it's gonna be hard for you guys to see. There's 2 lenses, okay? So there's an outer lens and then there's an inner lens, right? And so by having those 2 lenses, it basically does like a fishbowl effect, right? And so when you go under the water, there's the salt, it's small particles or I don't know, fish poop, whatever, is mixed up in the water. The camera is basically trying to focus on that if there's not 2 lenses, right? So by having 2 lenses on the Insta360, when he goes under the water, it's shooting through that second lens so that that second lens is acting as a barrier, so his image isn't blurry. For the Max, there's only 1 lens. So that could be a big deal for you. Interestingly enough, though, the Max is still waterproof. Why? I don't know, but it is. Because you should never take it underwater. It's pointless. So.
What the CD or the SD card, what would you recommend for storage?
SD cards, yeah. So I would say
How less than what?
I usually do no less than 64, but I know I'm probably even low on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I try to get 128. I can't remember the speed though. That's the more important question is the speed for video. And I always have to Google that, like when I'm getting ready to purchase. I'm like, oh, okay, I have this kind of camera. What speed do I need to capture 4K or something like? I don't remember that off the top of my head. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but
Same thing, I Google it.
yes, the size is just whatever you want to do, and the interesting thing about size is like how you want to manage your storage. Like, you know, you want to copy stuff off and save it somewhere, and you know, it's a lot easier to copy a 64 off than a 128.
Because I do a lot of hiking once in a
Yeah.
while, and I would like to have a 360 on pole while I'm
Yeah.
doing my hikes to give
That'd be
people
cool.
a perspective
Yeah.
of my travels
Yeah.
on the trail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so like right now I think in my GoPro I've got a 128 gig card in it, and shooting at 4K I'm getting 2 hours and 40 minutes, so you can get a pretty good long walk there on that. And then I think it's about the same on the Insta360. But I love the Insta360 for the walk, and you know, it's I do agree with your point. It captures like no it's so once you get the editing down, it's a very almost want to use it all the time kind of camera. Yeah.
Is the audio? How's the audio? The built-in audio?
The built-in audio is not.
Audio is such a big deal for the
Well,
way
Right.
But you can hook a mic to it.
Yeah, it has 360-degree audio. There's 4 microphones on it.
Yeah.
The problem is if there's a whisper of a wind, it's gone.
There's
So
no
they-
wind filter on it. That's another very important thing here in the Caribbean, especially, is wind muffs and wind filters. Those fuzzy little cats on top of all of our cameras.
You
Yeah.
can get adapters, but you have to be careful because it sees everything.
Yeah.
You have to find something that fits inside that stitch line. So they have specific brackets for like your Rode wireless goes and stuff that'll go with it. You just have to be careful.
Yeah,
You
the
can't just
interesting
plug
thing
the
about
microphone
the
in.
selfie stick that he was showing, and I don't know if everybody recognizes that, but when he had that camera up on the selfie stick, because that selfie stick sits on the stitch line, the software in the camera knows to remove it. So that's why the camera looks like it's floating. So yeah, if you're going to add anything else to it, like a light or a mic, you have to get some sort of bracket that puts that component on the stitch line so it doesn't show up in the shot. But it's very doable. Yeah.
I've been curious about him. I haven't added that to my arsenal yet, but I've seen, you know, some stuff that he's done and other people have done, and that boy, when you extend it way up there and you get that fishbowl, it's weird.
Yeah.
But it's very stylistic, and you can do some really cool things.
Right. So that's a great question about 360. Great, but like most of these topics, y'all, we could have a whole separate topic about. I mean, it could get really